So, yeah, Kickstarter and the TGC BOF system, they kind of go together pretty well, actually. They fit together. So what we're going to talk about is how you should build your budget. That's kind of pretty much the most important thing when it comes to building out your Kickstarter. We're going to talk about stretch goals. We're going to talk about special pledge levels, and then also how using the TGC BOF system with Kickstarter can actually give you a win. And it may be that it gives you a win, but then you decide you're not actually going to use the TGC to fulfill your order, or to fulfill your Kickstarter, excuse me. So first thing, budget. Budget. You have to know what it's going to take to produce your game, to get it out to your people, to all of your backers, before you create your Kickstarter. If you don't have that information, your Kickstarter, it might seem very easy. Hey, I know my game costs this much, and I know it's going to cost me, it might cost me $5 to ship, because I can do it first class or whatever. And the next thing you know, you throw in a few stretch goals that you weren't planning on, and your Kickstarter funds, but you didn't actually collect enough funds to fulfill. So, budget. So the first thing we're going to talk about with that is the base game costs. You can actually get this off of the statistics page, or the statistics on the right of your game page. You have a base cost each. So this is what it's going to cost you to order your game. If you guys have created games, you know what that number means already. Then you also have the bulk cost each. So this is going to be your best case scenario if you order with TGC. So if you're going to order 100 copies, this is going to be the best you can do with TGC. And then finally you have everything in between. So you can use that information to kind of guide, put it into your budget and kind of guide what you think you want your goal to be for your Kickstarter. So if you think you want to only sell 50 units for it to be a successful Kickstarter, well then let's look at the number 50 rather than the cost, I should say, at the 50 level. The next thing that we're going to want to look at is base shipping. So we can do it the hard way, which is here's the weight, here's the box that comes in, and there's the dimensions. I'm going to go out to USPS, and I'm going to put in the calculator that on USPS some addresses and find the box that'll fit in, because USPS gives boxes, which you should take advantage of that because boxes cost money otherwise. So we're going to grab that information and we're going to do that calculation on our own. Or you could use the TGC BOF system. So, yeah, on the My Games page, there is this bulk order fulfillment button. And if you push it, it will take you to the bulk order fulfillment main page. And on that page, you'll see this little getting started section. And you will want to look at the orders.csv. You'll want to download that. The orders.csv is a spreadsheet that you will, should you decide to use the TGC BOF system, upload to our site, and that will be how you place your order. Now, this CSV file contains headings and columns and everything else in terms of how you need to submit it. It'll have the address, the customer name, you'll be able to submit notes, and then also it'll list all of your games along with some special IDs for your games that we need in the system. So you don't want to actually change that information. But it'll list all of the games. So maybe you're only running a Kickstarter for the first game in the list, so you'll only submit or fill in the columns for that particular game. So a couple of things that you want to look out for. I should say the reason that we're looking at the orders.csv is because it has like 70 something addresses pre-filled in, kind of a smattering all over. So you don't have to go to the work of finding all of those addresses and entering them into USPS. It's just there for you. So, and it's different countries all over, some in the states in the US, kind of all over. A couple of things when you're filling out the order.csv. These are just a few tips, if you will, to make this go a little smoother. So first is open as comma separated and make sure you save it that way. Your program, if you just click, hey, open, and just kind of okay through everything without paying attention, it will probably open and it will probably look okay until you save it. And if you're not paying attention, then when you try to upload it, you'll get errors, and it might say that you're missing columns and other assorted things that will frustrate you. So take just a quick second to make sure of how you open it and also the way you save it. Format cells for leading zeros on postal codes. Why on earth there are leading zeros on postal codes, I'll never know, but they exist. The spreadsheet will undoubtedly change a 5-digit leading zero zip code to 4 digits. So you will need to make sure you format those specific cells to 5 digits. You may look at the list of addresses that we've added there and think that you need a few more just to make sure you're covering everything so you can really get a good idea of what the shipping is going to cost. And that's perfectly fine. Add in however many addresses you feel you might need. You're going to update your game numbers. As I mentioned, there's columns for each game. You're going to want to fill in how many games you're shipping to each of those addresses in that particular game column. And you'll want to probably do, you may want to run the spreadsheet several times, or you may want to just pay attention as to how many games you're adding in each column so that you can get an idea of what it's going to take to ship 1 copy, or maybe 2. Or perhaps you're creating a game, a special edition version with other parts in, so you'll have a separate column there, and you'll want to make sure you fill those in as well. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about that as we go. And then simply just upload it to the system. You're not buying anything at this point. You're just getting all the data into the bulk order system. So the first thing that you're going to want to kind of take a look at is the shipping type. The bulk order system is going to use the cheapest shipping it finds. That might be, as in this case, USPS priority. Your game might not qualify for first class because it's too heavy. So it's just something to kind of take a look at. Next, you're going to want to look at what is the highest shipping cost. And I'm kind of cheating because I put several things on this particular, or in this particular clip. But the highest shipping cost for one game is $14.24. You see the one at the top that we just looked at was $10.20. And then finally, if you've had different scenarios like multiple games, you can kind of get a gauge for what it's going to cost to ship multiple games. So in this case, we're looking at $24.50. So all that stuff goes back into the budget. So make sure that you're using, you can be safe, make sure you're using the highest shipping cost in the US. A lot of Kickstarters will ship free in the US. So you'll want to kind of include your worst case scenario, if you will, when you're creating your budget. Next are stretch goals. Stretch goals can get you in trouble. So make sure that you think about those ahead of time as well. If you're going to add new parts, changing out parts, so you're adding special roll cards, or changing out regular pawns with miniatures, or whatever that might be, they can change the size and weight and consequently the price of your game that we looked at earlier, and then also what it costs to ship that game. It might go so far as to push the game outside of the box you've created initially into a larger box. So all of that stuff needs to be taken into account. Build it into the system ahead of time. Like I said, you can run that BOF as often as that BOF calculation as often as you want. Upload that spreadsheet, fill out a new column with your game with extra different components in it, and rerun it. Be careful, this is just kind of generally speaking about Kickstarter, be careful changing your plan midstream. Your backers are going to push you for more and more and more, and your thing is going to be successful, and you're like, yes, let's do this. I can do whatever it is you want. Don't do that. If you haven't planned for it, it's just not a good idea. You can maybe go back and look at your budget and see if it still fits in your budget. If it doesn't, don't give in to the temptation. Just don't. Next, we've got special pledge levels. So maybe you've got with the TGC BOF system, even if you don't plan to fulfill with us like your whole thing, you're doing, you somehow hit it out of the park and you're filling 1,000 games, you could still create a special pledge level that we could fulfill for you, because it might be a game that's not like every other one. So maybe it has special components. Maybe it's signed. Maybe it's early bird, because we can ship stuff much faster than if you're getting your game made in China. That turnaround time is 6 months. We're looking at 3 weeks. So think about those things. It'll give you a chance to add some extra pledge levels that you might not have thought of initially, and they can add to the success of your Kickstarter. And speaking of success, it's great to get a win. And that's where the BOF system can come into play. So if you plan your Kickstarter goal and you make that goal relatively low, but you plan your budget to fulfill through the game crafter, then you can get that win. I've hit $5,000, that was my goal, and that's 50 units, and your game is out there, and that's what you want, your game to be successful. You don't want to, a mistake that gets made is that everybody thinks they're gonna, have an exploding kittens where they sell millions of dollars worth of units, and that's just not the reality. So the BOF system gives you that ability, and TGC's unique ability to do the low run to get a successful Kickstarter. And that's going to help you down the road so that potentially you can get bigger and bigger wins, and then you end up potentially filling through China because you can get it cheaper that way, and because you've made 1,000 units, or you need to make 1,000 units. Here's a couple of things just kind of to think about after your Kickstarter. If you've never used Kickstarter and never gone that road, the pledge levels are not consolidated. So kind of keep that in mind. Every pledge level that you make will come separately, or in a separate spreadsheet, I should say, with all of the pledges listed. So you'll need to, if you decide to use the BOF system, you'll need to combine all of that into one spreadsheet to upload to our system. And we would suggest that you probably consolidate the Kickstarter spreadsheet and format it so that it looks like the orders spreadsheet that I talked about earlier, because all your data will be there already rather than transferring. It's a lot easier to change a couple headings than it is to move just gobs and gobs of data.
What about stuff like services like backer kit for fulfill?
Backer kit.
Oh, backer kit.
It's third-party fulfillment.
Right.
Management.
I've not used that.
It makes it fulfill for you to just
Right.
But it's
So
They-
it's interface with backer kit, I guess, as he's asking.
super pricey to do it though.
Well, it can be, but you usually make your money back. The point is they can give you an export that even you could import.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from.
Okay.
I considered using it. I have considered using it. I've seen others use it too, and other companies have pledged to use it.
You should be able to do an export from theirs and then just use a worksheet and copy and paste their data into what they need for their BOF system.
Right. Yeah, you should be able to, whatever the data is that you get back, you should be able to cut and paste it into the format that we need. That's kind of the bottom line and all that. Then one other tip, when you send out your backer surveys, make sure you get phone numbers for international users. It will make make it a lot easier for them to get their games, just because of the way the postal services work around the globe. So why would you want to use TGC for for fulfillment of your Kickstarter? First, we do the fulfillment. You would upload a spreadsheet that has all the information you need, and then we do the rest. Or you can buy all the games, have them shipped to you, spend I don't know how long weighing those packages, getting them all set, and then shipping them out to your backers. I like easy myself. Secondly, it's a quick turnaround. Again, we talked about this earlier. It was, we're talking about 6 months if you order from China, plus the shipping costs associated with that, whereas we can get stuff out in 3 weeks. And your backers will love that you get stuff out that fast. That all goes back to that getting a win. Any issues that you have, if the games get damaged in transit, you send that to us and we fix it. So again, easy. You don't have to worry about it. And then finally, this is something that people may not know, is we can handle special pieces. So if one of your stretch goals that you've planned on is to replace a pawn with a miniature that we don't sell in our shop, for your BOF, you can ship that to us and we will put it in the BOF and then ship it to your backers. So, a couple other things. So what else can you use the BOF system for? If you're sending out a bunch of copies to reviewers, if you're sending out a bunch of copies to retailers and then as gifts, again, you're getting the discount for sending multiple copies out, and it's just a quick spreadsheet upload. Hey, Kickstarter and the Game Crafter, it goes together like chocolate and peanut butter. I don't know. I guess my slide left here. Any questions?
So what size orders do you take? Up to 100 units or?
We will take anything. We'll do any size. Our discounts,
130,000.
our discounts start at 10 and our best discount is at 100. But we will fill any size order that you need.
Although when you get to a certain point, it probably makes more sense to go traditional.
So what's that point?
Depends on the game.
It depends on,
It can be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 units. It'll make more sense to go to China.
But you also have to consider the time that it takes for fulfillment, the fact that you would also have to pay the shipping costs separately and do all that work yourself too.
Right.
So you may get 1,000 units from China at a better price, but are you gonna have all that time? Are you gonna have a place to store the games? Something to keep in mind too when you're making
Yep.
decisions.
Yeah.
Also, the Game Crafter customer service is a lot easier to talk to than the guy across the seas. I've dealt with
You got a question over here? Yeah.
Yeah, when you're sourcing, do you guys have contacts with anybody that makes custom pieces or anything like that? Like, if we were looking for custom shaped piece cutout or something like that, or some custom
Wood or textiles?
plastic.
Plastic.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to get it in the US.
yeah.
Right, there's stuff we can find, like, for whatever reason, they only sell these damn things from over in the UK somewhere, and we're trying to, like, I can't find anywhere else that sources them in the US.
We can talk to you after.
Yeah, we can definitely talk to you about it. And, yeah. I mean, we source pieces everywhere, so we have contacts everywhere that we can use. Yep.
That's about it.